Welcome back to our show, your show, Let's Talk Stocks. In studio with us this morning is Mr. Priesnell Warren. Now he's Managing Director of Frontier Business Advisory. Of course, he calls himself a financial economist. Pretty interesting. Lots of things to discuss today. Welcome to the show, Priesnell.
Thank you for having me, Nielsen.
All right, Frontier Business Advisory. What exactly is Frontier? What do you do?
So, Frontier Business Advisory, we are basically a financial advisory company, right? We help companies raise capital.
Okay.
Not excluding the stock market, clearly, but the companies that we represent typically are underserved. Coming from the MSME sector, we look to build capacity, help these companies up the chain. Eventually, a few to many could become listed companies in the future.
A financial advisory company. Financial advisory is very important.
It is.
Given Jamaica's economy, why would you have chosen that route?
So it really started, I've been a research analyst for a number of years now. I've worked both in the private and the public sector. And during my time, I would have, come across several reports, researches, and I've realized that there continues to be a gap in the market. Jamaica, I believe, should take its rightful place. There's been talk, we can't have this conversation without bringing up the Singapore story. There's a Chinese economic miracle. So I believe now it's really coming full circle for Jamaica not to be just known for track or for music or for sports in general, but to be known as a financial center as well.
And you believe Jamaica has the capacity to command that kind of attention, that kind of respect on the world stage?
We do, because we do have a semblance of respect. Jamaica itself is a brand. So it's not just a brand if you think of all those things I've mentioned before, but to be Jamaican in the wider world, there are a lot of people who want to be Jamaican. And those are the things that it makes us proud. If you think of when our athletes do well at the Olympics and the level of passion that exudes from the society, if we use that same level of passion and put our hands and heart together, we can do it.
Yes, Jamaica, big brand internationally. But the financial markets, that's not a space where you just play any game. I mean, small things can bring down big businesses. And the capital markets, we're talking about trillions of dollars, US dollars kind of place. While Jamaica capital markets seem to be doing well in the Caribbean region, to play on the world stage, that's a massive ask.
So if you think of the performance of our stock market, for example, in 2015 and 2019, that would have shaped the way. And there's several factors that would have gone into that, including public education. So one of the things that at Frontier that we are doing, we have realized that financial literacy, especially I've worked in the past at the JDIC, where financial inclusion is one of the indirect mandates. We would have understood that greater financial literacy will be important to a moving nation. Greater business literacy as well. So yes, we do have the people who can do it. If you look at our people who live here and go to the United States, for example, and elsewhere, have done phenomenally well.
Okay. So you're saying financial literacy provides us with the platform
Yes.
to really drive Jamaica's growth and development.
It does.
Especially, you're saying as an economic and financial powerhouse.
It does.
Even at the world stage.
It does. And some of the projects that has been developed and the JSC group has been doing phenomenal work, including the Project STAR initiative. The PSOG has, for example, I've personally seen Keith Duncan, for example, gone into communities. And you'll think, because I grew up in the countryside, I remember days going to high school. There's several conversations. If you think about even some of the radio programs and who's really calling, it's a man on the street, it's a farmer, it's a taxi driver, it's a barber. So why do we think our people don't have the capacity to actually learn new things? We do. We can get there.
Many would say, though, when you look at the emerging spaces, our focus has always been around the creative and cultural sectors. The regular Joe, that's where he sees as his out. But you are saying no. Frontier is looking to pull people up by the bootstraps through entrepreneurship and economic and financial.
Yes. Because we believe Jamaica's yellow brick road for entrepreneurship success will be incumbent on several sectors to include the orange economy. Kingston is a financial and cultural capital. I believe that there's a similar book by J.R. Watkins, right? I've actually invested in a record label. When Kingston really begins to take shape and redevelop, there'll be lots of opportunities, not limited to finance, not limited to entertainment, because entertainment brings in money that equals finance. What if, in fact, there was maybe not through its success, but there have been a listing in the past that is related to royalties. There's a huge untapped market. There's even a firm, Harborview Equity Partners, I believe, Jamaican owned, right? Investments coming from the likes of JP Morgan Chase, that they are actually buying up music assets. So it's an asset.
But so I want to come back to that discussion about that orange economy and the possibilities of Kingston, etc. But I want you to explain for my viewers this yellow brick road concept. What exactly is that?
So the yellow brick road, I grew up watching, I believe it's The Wizard of Oz. So it's almost like we lost our way at one point. We looked at FinSac and what it has done to our economy. But the fact that we're now in a window of opportunity, it's almost like we've had our own economic miracle. Though it's still taking its time to take shape in the entire economy, it does take, there is some, what we consider economic lags. But we are getting to the point where we can knock our boots and find our way back home on our rightful path of success. And success that is not limited to any segments of the society.
Off here, you said that Jamaica is pretty much a political economy.
And I believe that, I stand by that.
And I'm going to ask you on here now, what does that mean? And how does it then relate to the FinSac era, us losing our way?
So I would say, for me, though my parents had their political views, I did not learn politics at home.
Okay.
And we coin the term the articulate minority. You find that a lot of younger people have learned politics not in the traditional sense. They're not just voting because their parents voted one particular party. They are making their own decisions and looking at things. So when I began to actually study economics, I realized that there are fundamental differences.
So you say the youngsters ain't following Bustamante till I die?
No, they're not.
Or the Michael Manley?
They are not. They are not.
Okay.
They are looking at results. They are looking to see how does Jamaica match up with its trading partners.
Mm-hmm.
they are looking at the numbers.
How do you think then? So you said we would have lost our way. Many people see the FinSac era, but I don't know whether we have a good understanding of what happened in that era. What is your view on it?
So we don't, and that is one of the reasons why we're actually saying that we're creating an ecosystem of entrepreneurs, a new generation of entrepreneurs, because I believe that era would have sort of, affected our entrepreneurial spirit.
It did.
We are the kind of people who, as we say, turn we hand and make fashion. So truth be told, and the fact that there were direct ramifications, such as the fact that what is considered a crowding out of the market, it would have been difficult to actually get financing in whatever shape or form to actually start or to leverage your ideas, your business. So it would have been difficult for a while, and the fact that we actually, our debt to GDP ratio to one point was almost 150 to, those things actually affected our economy. Our unemployment rates were in double digits, and those are the things that we say high interest rates. We call, there's a term that we have coined, Jamaicanomics, which is basically secular stagflation. High interest rates, high inflation rates, low growth. Those things are now
secular
stagflation.
And that means what again?
Another name for it, Jamaica's economic anomaly, or Jamaicanomics, which means that inflation is high and the growth rate is low. So it's a double whammy, so to speak.
Inflation high, growth rate
and
low.
Growth rate low.
So everything just...
Because if inflation is high in a normal economy, if inflation is growing, because some degree of inflation is good for the economy, it means that prices are going up, it means that it encourages new businesses to enter the market. It's just like if the prices for tomatoes in the agricultural space goes up, it means that more people will be planting, and that will basically increase the supply. Now, in the normal sense, as I said before, if inflation is going up, to a certain tune, it means that the economy, the real economy, should be growing.
How could the economy have survived that for so long, though? Why didn't the economy crash? Because given what you outlined, and given what the purists in terms of economic theory would have said, certainly that cannot exist for any great period. There has to be a consequence. How did we manage to stay afloat for so long?
Well, I'll play on words. Crash programs.
Okay. So there were social programs.
There were social programs.
What about the underground economy? Do you think that
would have been another factor? That would have been another factor. And I believe Jamaica's economy, still to a greater degree, and that's probably one of the reasons, especially going back to our previous conversation, wherever we have not really unlocked proper growth, because we are still largely informal.
Because of the mistrust, you think?
There's a lot of different factors, including mistrust. Structurally, we have not fundamentally fixed some of the issues that we've had in the past. We're getting somewhere, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
What are those issues, you think, fundamentally and structurally, if we were to get them right, that would bring us back?
So our energy mix, I believe a few years ago we'd have heard that LNG is a savior. However, we've now realized that the markets in world oil prices have actually come down relatively to the price of LNG in terms of heavy fuel and some of the other sub-mixes that we use here in Jamaica.
Why haven't we looked at what is more readily available here? We have sunshine all year round. Why hasn't that been a key push?
So I think having that, there are pros and cons. And I don't think so much those are particularly issue, maybe. I think of hydro. I could have only remembered there are hydro plant in Magati, I believe, having been a part of the Black River ecosystem. I believe one of the issues, though, that fundamentally derail some of these plans is the time we take to make these decisions. And it's one of the taglines of Frontier, to break barriers to do business. The fact that by the time we decide to make a decision, the time would have passed. And I believe maybe that was one of the reasons why the LNG plan to date has not really brought fruit to lowering the kilowatt per hour.
So essentially you're saying government drags its feet and by the time they get to doing it, the opportunity has passed.
Well, the truth be told, I'm not completely critical of the government by itself. Because, I'm being serious. The truth of the matter is that the government has to become better facilitators, but it has to be uptake from the private sector as well. Government can't be just operate, and it doesn't operate within an ecosystem by itself. You have to consider the other stakeholders, the private sector and individuals as well. We all have a part to play in Jamaica's advancement.
As you then spoke the Yellow Brick Road, the Lusterway, but you also pointed to some sort of economic miracle in Jamaica.
Yeah.
What?
Because
most Jamaicans not seeing that. How you
all right.
come by that?
So I spoke to a business owner just yesterday, and he said to me, business is good, he can't complain. I'm saying, wow, that is really good to hear. So you do have pockets of success, right? What we want is a more collective, at every sphere of the economy. And I believe if we continue to make certain strides, I can say, for example, our business minister, Senator Albin Hill, has been doing a lot of work, right? He's been the ministry, the entire ministry, key agencies such as JAMPRO, such as Jamaica Special Economic Zones, they, the JBDC, the DBJ have been doing a lot of work.
Indeed.
To actually, in fact, if you think of the privatization of, Trans-Jamaican highways, right? There are several Jamaicans who would have benefited from that. Ordinary Jamaicans who typically would say, well, I don't know nothing about the stock market. That is for the rich man. So there have been steps that we are now, and as the numbers are now in, right? Inflation, in fact, the BOJ has managed our inflation in terms of inflation targeting better than lots of well-known central banks around the world. So the numbers are converging in terms of lower interest rate or stable interest rates. At least they're a little bit more elevated now, right? Low and stable inflation rate. I mean, given the context of what has happened with COVID-19, the unemployment rate has been at historic lows. Business and consumer indices are now more stable and going in the right direction.
Let's look at that, because these top line numbers sound fancy.
Yeah.
A nice statements from the political platforms. Low and stable inflation, lowest unemployment rate. But the reality for most Jamaicans is not so.
So that's true, because these numbers by themselves, and I will say to persons, the numbers by themselves, you have to put context. Because the unemployment rate, as an economist, I have my own sort of issues with it. It sort of doesn't collect data widely. You find that if you're not actively seeking work within a 4 weeks period, you have persons who are, so I think Jamaica has a problem where we have a lot of persons who are underemployed.
We've been talking with Mr. Priesnell Warren. He's Managing Director of Frontier Business Advisory. Of course, he believes Jamaica is ripe for the picking. Opportunities are abounding. But as we always say here on Let's Talk Stocks, we give you information to make better financial decisions. Come back with us for the second part of that interview. We'll have a lot more to tell you.